Hello, and thanks for joining us for another model building workshop. And today I'm going to show you a project that I'm kind of playing with right now. This is the German 2.8 centimeter sPzB41. Yeah, it's an anti-tank gun with the crew. It's, well, the plan for your diorama, according to them, was Eastern Front in 1943. But quite frankly, you could do a lot of different things with this set. So you get the 2.8 centimeter sPzB41 gun here, and you get two Luftwaffe, paratroopers and winter smocks, winter gear here. So you could kind of place them wherever, really, that you would have paratroopers in winter gear. So if you look at the box art, you get some photographs of an actual gun. And typical, they also show you some other kits that they make on the other side. And this dates from, they usually have a date on here, yeah, 1996. Seems like a million years ago. This kit's been around. So some Dragon models, so it's one of their, from the 90s. But new to me. So that's what I'm working on. Let's look at the instructions here. There's not a lot to it, and I recently picked this up on sale, and the sale price I thought was pretty good, obviously. Well, I bought it because it's really a very small anti-tank gun. I think the original price was a lot higher, but I think the shopkeeper realized this is a very tiny kit. So, and it's got a few issues, which I'll explain in a minute. So you can see the instructions and the assembly sequence, which is fairly standard for an anti-tank gun, anti-tank rifle like this. Although I found this to be a frustrating part of the assembly, is putting this carriage together. I wish they had a better way of doing this than what they have here. First off, you've got the wheel and the arm or leg, whatever you want it to be, that connects it to the to this piece here. It's a one-piece thing. And I think that the axle and the wheel could have been separate, because making this a one piece is a little odd. And then having these two parts are very fragile, and you have to try to balance and put them together. Was extremely difficult for me. Maybe it wouldn't be for you, and other models might be able to breeze through it, but I found that to be a real white knuckle situation. And the gun went together not that bad, actually. I didn't have any problems with the actual gun, and sometimes I do on these tiny cannon, but I didn't find it to be that terrible. For me, it was all about that frustrating carriage it sits on. And I gathered that there are different variations of this gun out there on the market from different model builders, model makers. And they have different carriages. In some cases, they have, I'm going to pull this out. Here's an old Tamiya kit. But in some cases, they have this sort of trailer that it's sitting on, or something like that. Just bigger wheels and probably a lot less of a headache to assemble than this tiny little tricycle thing, or two wheels and the that one piece strutter, I guess you want to call it. I'm sure there's a better word for it, but at this hour I'm calling it a strut. So it's got a couple of shields on it, which I think is interesting. It's got two. And then the crew of two paratroopers. Whoops. And I'll show you some photographs from a book about the uniform possibilities you have here and colors. And they give you a kind of a standard breakdown of what you can do for painting, but I can tell you more. So there's not a lot of steps to this. Painting plays a big role in this kit, as it does in a lot of kits. And let me try to show you the gun itself. And as I said, it is pretty small. So here she is. Very tiny. Hold it on this because it's easier. So if you see the wheels, they're very tiny. Kind of like as if you're doing wheels for a 1/72nd scale airplane. Very, very small. And the carriage, if you look at it carefully, I did not get the bars of that frame to cooperate too well. So I struggled with that, and therefore, this is going to be sitting behind something like this. I'll put some sandbags or some sort of a protective barrier around that, make it part of a defensive perimeter that the paratroopers are holding. So I'm going to I didn't glue the top and the bottom together yet, so take a look. So here she is. It's a very small, kind of more like a anti-tank rifle. So it's a 2.8 centimeter gun, and it was known as a squeeze bore type of weapon system. Let me explain some of that from an article I found online here. I got it here. Squeeze bore guns, and they only saw limited service during World War II because they were a very complicated weapon to manufacture. They were also expensive to do. So it took very advanced technology and high production standards to even make such a thing. So the Germans had this one, and Britain was experimenting with one as well. Other countries like the United States and Soviet Union had tried, but they ended up abandoning the projects because they ran into different sorts of technical problems. In short, this provided a good anti-armor performance at a short range, because it's saying at least one shot penetrated the lower front plate of a Joseph Stalin tank. So, at a high rate of fire with a small, lightweight, gun was possible with this. But it had a lot of shortcomings they mentioned here. I'm just looking at an article off Wikipedia, just so you know. So the barrel was hard to manufacture, and it had a short life service, about 500 rounds. Although some have argued, I've looked at different message boards and things here on the internet, and some have argued, well, it's not completely unusual for a gun to, need changing at 500 rounds. Anyway, it had a very weak fragmentation shell, and it required tungsten for armor-piercing shells, which was not an easy iron ore, whatever, not an easy metal to get a hold of at that time. So, and it didn't really have much it could do other than like anti-tank gun. It didn't really have a high explosive. That's what I'm getting out of this. It didn't have much of a high explosive use. But anyway, and production was stopped because they couldn't really get any more tungsten. So it's one of those things that there's a bit of, it has pros and it has cons. Anyway, as a model, it's something kind of fun and different to do, and I do know that there's they've got some versions of a German anti-tank gun armored car that used one of these. One of the, like a 221 or 222 chassis, which they then swapped out the machine gun or the 20 millimeter gun and put one of these on instead. So these were, in use. So it had some potential. So I'm in process with this model. So I'm going to show you. Didn't get too far with the figures, but I want to just show you where we are, so you get some idea. Typical Dragon models type of figures here. You're going to have the crouched guy firing. Got a primer at the moment. So you kind of get an idea. Let me try to assemble this quickly so you get a sense of what scale of all of this. how I'm going to. I'll probably have to glue this top to the bottom because this doesn't go together very well. As you can see me fiddling with it here, trying to convince it to work for me here. Good grief. Anyway. Yeah. I just broke it. So, yeah. Anyway, that happens. So, yeah, I think we'll end this video here because I got to do some repair work on this. But as you can see, it's fiddly because that's it, you know, the thing split, and there you go. Well, we'll chalk this up as, I don't know, mess, I guess. That's today's model building workshop. I'll get this thing fixed up and it'll be done at some point. All right, bye.